Hello and welcome to Programming Fundamentals. This week's video is all about the idea of a conditional statement. So when we write a program, more often than not, it's not just a sequence of instructions which we can always follow. We have to make choices in our program, and these choices may be based on, say, something a user inputs, or indeed the output from a previous sequence or procedure. Okay, and in programming terms we describe these as conditional statements, and C++ provides us with the if-else conditional statement to deal with these questions. Okay, and simply put, we ask a question and the answer evaluates to either the Boolean value of true or false. Okay, so let's take a simple problem. I want to write a program which gets the user to input two numbers. Okay, I'm going to store those numbers, and for the sake of this, they're integers into two variables. And I've declared them here. I've got num1 and num2. And then I'm going to run a couple of tests on these, and my output is going to be according to these tests. So the test I'm going to run is that if number 1 is bigger than number 2, I'm going to output the first number is bigger than the second. Or if number 2 is bigger than number 1, I'm going to output the second number is bigger than the first. And the final thing that could hold true for those numbers is that they could both be the same. So I'm going to check for that as well. And if both numbers are the same, I'm going to say both numbers are the same. Okay, so I've already set up the inputs and the outputs there, and I'm reading the inputs into num1 and num2. So the first question I want to check for is I want to see if the first number is bigger than the second. That's my first condition. And the way I do this with C++, if I say if, and then my variable name num1 is greater than num2. Okay, and then something slightly new here. I'm going to use these curly braces. Now the curly braces indicate that I've got a block of statements, all of which belong to this if statement. Now strictly speaking, for just a one-line statement, I don't actually need them. Okay, and it's a matter of personal choice really if you put them in for just one statement. Personally, I tend to, but it will work equally well without them in this case. Okay, so if number 1 is greater than number 2, I want to output to the console the first number is bigger than the second. Okay, so cout the first number is bigger than the second. Okay, and I'll put a line break in there as well. So I could either use the endl command there, or I can use the /n. Okay, so if number 1 is greater than number 2, cout the first number is bigger than the second. So the second thing that might occur then is if that's the other way round, if the number 2 is bigger than number 1. So in this case, I'm going to say else. Okay, if num2 is greater than num1. And again, I'm going to put my braces. And this time, if that's the case, I'm going to output the second number is bigger than the first. And again, I'm going to use a line break there. Okay, and I have one condition left. It could be that both conditions are the same, and because there's exactly one condition left, in this instance I don't need an if statement. I can just simply say else. Okay, because there's only one possible remaining choice here, so else. Both numbers are the same. Okay, so that's looking good. I don't appear to have any errors in there, so let's save that and build it. Okay, that's been successful, so I'll run that. Okay, so my program, I've got my output, enter a number, so the first number I'm going to input, I'll put the number 10 in. Okay, it says enter another number, so this time I'll enter the number 3. So in this case, I'd expect that number 1 is greater than number 2, so I'd expect it to execute the first block and then ignore the else statements and the additional else statement. Okay, and indeed it does. It outputs the first number is bigger than the second, and then it's dropping down to the system pause line there. Okay, which is the press any key to continue. Okay, so that's my first run through the program. So if I run that again, and I'll try that the other way round. So again, I enter a number. So this time, my first number, I'm going to enter the value of 4. My second number I'll enter is 11. So I'd expect it to output this time that the second number is bigger than the first number. And indeed, that's the case. It says the second number is bigger than the first. And we've got our final test of the program. So in this case, I'll enter 5 for both numbers, and it gives me the output. Both numbers are the same. Okay, so we can see that our program doesn't follow a sequence of instructions as such. It makes choices in these. These choices are called conditions. Each condition, it tests whether it's true or false. In this case, if it's true, it executes it. If it's false, it goes on and it tries the next in the sequence, okay, until it finishes.